Good day, everyone. How are you feeling today? We are now in 18 weeks, and I'll be your reporter for today's lessons. My assigned topic is all about the Praise language myth. But before proceeding to our topic, let us read the learning objective. At the end of the lessons, the students shall be able to explain the meaning behind the myth Italian is beautiful, German is ugly. Second, differentiate Italian from German English. Third, know the origin of myth. And fourth, know the three implications of myth in the society. And lastly, differentiate inherent value hypothesis from social connotation hypothesis. So, shall we start? Italian is beautiful, German is ugly. Now, this is myth. Some languages are considered more aesthetically pleasing than others. Even if the language is questioned isn't spoken by the person having this opinion, this happens especially among English speakers. This myth is about the sounds of different languages and dialects and accents. Which do we like best and why, and which ones do we dislike? Italian accent considered elegant and sexy, but German accents and their pronunciation considered harsh and ugly. I'll give you example the difference of pronunciation and accent between these two, Italian versus German. First, we have here Italian English. Almost all words in Italian adding in vowel sounds. This means that Italian speakers are not used to pronouncing words ending a consonant. For English words ending a consonant, Italian may add a vowel sound to make it easier to pronounce consonants. Most letters of English alphabets are consonants, except A, I, O, because those are vowels. I have here examples. Man, but in Italian they read this and pronounce this as manna, flag as flaga, and words as worza. The R sound in English is made with the tongue not touching the top of the mouth. Example, we pronounce this as frozen, but in Italian it's frozen. Room as room, and broom as broom. Italian has double consonant. In English, we have words written with two identical letters next to each other, but they can't pronounce this longer sound. Unlike in Italian, any double letter they pronounce it as longer sounds. For instance, we pronounce this as happy, but in Italian it's happy. Difficult as difficult. Dinner as dinner. Those are unique pronunciation and accent of Italian in English. Now we have here German English. There's no W sound, the letter W in German alphabet. It represents as V sound. This means Germans are likely to pronounce W sounds as V sound in English. Example, we, they pronounce it as V. Wet as vet. You see, it's kinda interesting, right? The letters ng in German may not have the g sound. When you see the letters ng in the middle of a word, in English, we emphasize the g sound. For instance, we pronounce this as hunger, but in German, they pronounce this as hunger. Anger as anger, and finger as finger. And lastly, Germans are likely to use nurse vowel in English. The nurse vowel, it made the lips relaxed, but it does not exist in German. But this vowel E made with the lips rounded, and German likely to use it for the nurse vowel. Example, we read this as Germany, but in German, they pronounce this as Germany. Their lips are being rounded when there's E vowels. Concern as concern, learn as learn. Those are the differences between Italian and German in terms of pronunciation and accent. But of course, we have to remember that all of us has a unique own version on how we read nor pronounce that words since we have world Englishes. Now let's proceed the origin of myth. Like, where does this myth came from? The view on whether a language or dialect is beautiful or not are based on cultural norms and social connotation, and we are going to tackle that one. Now, there are two theories why regarding this myth certain languages are more aesthetically pleasing than others. We have here inherent value hypothesis and social connotation hypothesis. Number 1. Inherent value hypothesis. This theory claims that some linguistic varieties are intrinsically more pleasant to listen to than others, and that these varieties have become accepted as standard because of that property, meaning that it has nothing to do with historical preferences or social conditioning. There are people that claim that some languages, that some accents of them are inherently more attractive than others, and that is biologically wired into us. In this theory, there's a comparing in terms of accent, pronunciation in specific language to other language. For instance, Italian language sounds elegant and sexy, while German is considered as harsh and ugly accent. Next, we have here social connotation hypothesis. The pleasantness of a language is based on social attributes of the speaker. If a social group assumes power in society, it will take measure to have its forms of communication privileged through the media, education, and so on. Meaning, our evaluations and reaction to language stimuli depend on the social attributes and inferences drawn based on the supposed values, intention, and attitudes that are associated with speech variants. The implication in the society. Number 1, linguistic self-hatred. People believe that their way of communicating is grossly inadequate. Through harsh treatment, people can and have been conditioned to accept certain stereotypes about who they are, and it's also known as linguistic self-hatred. Number 2, there is a strong link between the perceived pleasantness of a language variety and the apparent intelligibility of what is said in it. In other words, stereotypes about a language can determine whether or not a listener will put in the required effort to acknowledge the speaker. And lastly, how well we are taught to speak can cause prejudice in the listener. It can either positively or negatively. Again, those are two theories. Those are inherent value hypothesis and social connotation hypothesis. Next, we have here other myth. Aside the myth I provided earlier, Italian is beautiful, German is ugly, I have provided two myths and I will explain it to you how does it makes a myth. Number 1. Learning a foreign language requires a special talent. This is myth. People assume that those people who can speak multiple languages have a natural gift for language. In other words, they believe that there is something unique in their DNA that enables them to learn. We all have the language learning gene. It's part of what makes us human. So then, why some adults succeed at learning foreign language while others don't? Simply, practice and approach. If you are failing to learn a language, it's either because you are not practicing enough or because you are taking the wrong approach. That's it. Simple as that. Next, last myth. You can't learn more than one language at a time. Every learner has their own style, but none of these are rules. Saying that person can't learn more than a language at a time is a myth. Don't let myth put you in a box. If you want to learn several languages at the same time, nobody can stop you from doing it. All in all, successful language learners overcome this myth. We ignore excuses and refuse to believe that we're too old to learn language. We recognize that technology doesn't nullify the need for language acquisition. It doesn't take us forever to learn, but it does take more than a week. Additionally, many of us even learn several languages at a time. It's time to throw this myth aside and learn the language you always wanted to learn. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something in my discussion. This is Christine T. Bisinga. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.